There's been a lot of talk over the years about how the Packers need to give Aaron help. And honestly, I get it. He's the kind of guy that can turn nothing into something, and can turn something into a huge play. And oh yeah, I guess the Aaron Rodgers guy is pretty good too.
Play clock at 5. Pass is intercepted at the goal line by Malcolm Butler.
The Broncos have been in 3 overtime games this year. They won them all. Down half. Got to get the 40. It's Thomas at the 50. Stiff arm down 3 to the 30. To the 20. Thomas to the 10. Difference going on the New England.
Anderson steps into it. Pass is caught. Diggs! Sideline! Touchdown! Unbelievable! Vikings win it!
If I were to rank all the best running backs who have under 160 career carries, there's no doubt Aaron Jones is number 1. Let's talk about a play that displays his talent right off the bat. Green Bay is going to send Davante Adams in motion. And this is important because the Dolphins are playing man coverage. So typically what you do in this situation is just the person who's in charge of guarding Davante Adams will shift over to the other side. However, when you do that, it lets the offense know that you're playing man coverage. So instead what Miami's going to do is simply have their safeties switch roles, meaning that McDonald will now be playing deep, and Jones will be in charge of guarding Davante Adams. Miami will be running a cover 1 hole on this play. It's essentially designed to take away the middle of the field, which is actually the perfect defensive play for the Packers. As you see here, they're going to set things up as if they're running a screen to Davante Adams. Adams is going to run a few steps back, and both the receivers are going to set up the block. Rodgers then helps sell a screen by staring down Davante Adams. This will help jaw any safeties, which in this case is TJ McDonald, away from the bottom of the screen where the play is going to end up going. As you see here, the play ends up going to Aaron Jones. And I know you're probably thinking, wait a second, why did you spend all this time talking about people that aren't Aaron Jones? The whole point of this video is about Aaron Jones. But the reason why is because football is such a team sport, a running back's not going to just completely make all these great plays by themselves. What makes a running back good is one that turns a bad play into a good play, and a good play into a great play. Look at where I've stopped this play. Kiko Alonso is rushing into Jones, and he has a really good shot at catching him. But look at how quick Jones is going to turn on this play. That's all he needs. One little move, and it turns what could have been a 2-yard, 3-yard loss into a big gain. Aaron Jones was drafted in the 5th round. A lot of that was due to an injury, as a lot of people weren't sure if he was going to be able to recover from a torn ligament in his left ankle. But I think it's pretty clear to say at this point that he's recovered fully. When it comes to the 40-yard dash, he ran a 4.56. There's plenty of running backs who have ran faster than that. But what I always say about running backs is it's not necessarily about speed, it's about acceleration. You want a running back that can get to his high speed as quick as possible. This is the perfect play to explain that. There's really nothing fancy about this play. It's a pretty standard run up the right A-gap. This is honestly a setup play more than anything. One thing worth mentioning is Jimmy Graham's going to do a good job on this play. He's going to leave a Dolphin unblocked and instead move up the block linebacker Kiko Alonso. TJ McDonald, who I've circled, actually does take a pretty poor angle on this play. He should have moved a little bit more to the top of the screen instead of running straight at Jones. But safeties will make poor angles all the time. To be a good player, you're going to have to make that safety pay for making a poor angle, which Jones does here. Look at how fast he just runs past everybody. And granted, at this point, Alvin Kamara or Ezekiel Elliott probably finished this play and end up getting into the end zone. Jones is going to end up getting tackled at about the 4-yard line. But the acceleration is what got him this big gain in the first place. It's a play that most times, best case scenario, you're looking at like a 5 to 7 yard gain. But in this case, it went for nearly 70 yards. Acceleration is huge in a running back, but what's just as important sometimes is footwork. I already talked about his footwork a little bit with the first play I showed, but I think this play will exemplify what I mean more. Much like last time, it's nothing too fancy. This time he's going to go through the B gap on the right side. However, once again, Kiko Alonso is in his way. This is a really interesting situation, because Jones kind of has 2 options. He can continue going through the B gap, where the play was designed for, or just go through the C gap. Typically, now is where Jones would have to make a decision. He either cuts one way or cuts the other. So Alonso's going to watch what Jones does. If he follows the arrow on top, then Alonso's going to assume that he's running through the B gap. If he follows the arrow on bottom, he's going to assume that Jones is running through the C gap. He's going to pretend like he's running through the B gap, but instead, at the last second, he's going to run through the C gap. And you look at Alonso, he's now completely out of position. He was expecting Jones to go through the B gap, and now he has no chance of making this tackle. Not only would a lot of running backs just not think of this kind of play, they also wouldn't have the footwork and acceleration to get away with it. It was a smart play by Jones. And personally, when it comes to running backs, what I value even more than the ability to break tackles or accelerate quickly is intelligence. At the end of the day, when it comes to running backs, if you're not a smart player, you're not going to be successful in the NFL. and Aaron Jones is a smart player. Personally, I think this play best exemplifies his intelligence. It's a pretty standard halfback toss to the outside. How many times have you seen a halfback toss backfire and end up costing a team 5 yards? It seems like it happens all the time. And a large part of that is because running backs often will try to break it to the outside no matter what. It's very tempting to try to break things to the outside. After all, there's a much better chance of you getting a big gain on a play like that than there would be if you just cut it to the inside. However, he sees Rashad Jones has pretty good positioning, and if he does try to cut to the outside, he's going to have to fight just to get back to the line of scrimmage. He cuts it inside instead. It's not a huge gain, it goes for about 6 yards, but these are the kind of plays that really help you throughout a game. The difference between losing a yard and gaining 6 is a huge difference. Now it's a 2nd down and 4 as opposed to a 2nd down and 11. They can pretty much do whatever they want at this point. That's the guy you want in a running back, someone who's going to make the smart decision. Aaron Jones had one of the best games I've ever seen a running back have last week against Miami. He had 145 yards, but he had it in just 15 attempts. He averaged 9.7 yards per carry, and he had 2 touchdowns as well. It's kind of surprising Green Bay doesn't use him more, because they honestly have arguably the best quarterback-running back duo in the NFL. And I truly believe if they use Aaron Jones more, they won't just be competing for playoffs, they'll be competing for a Super Bowl.
We like sports and we don't care who knows. From shooting hoops to the Super Bowl. We like sports and we don't care who knows.
Football, tennis, hockey, golf.
The game is starting, everyone is here. I got my snacks, my friends, and a beer.